We are right at 7:30. I believe we are live now. Um, it should be updating the page very soon. Okay, wonderful. We are currently live on Zoom and on CAIR-Philadelphia Facebook page, facebook.com/CAIR-Philly. We are very happy to have our dear mentor and Elder Baba Kenyan with us. Um, let's do a formal introduction. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ahmed Tekilolo, and I am the Education Outreach Director at CAIR-Philadelphia. I'm joined today as my co-host, Brother Sinai Parker, community organizer with CAIR-Philadelphia, and our guest tonight in the African American History Month series that CAIR-Philadelphia has been hosting since the beginning of February to observe the Black History Month and to reflect on our institutions in the city. So far, we have hosted our beloved imams, leaders of mosque institutions. And tonight, we are hosting Baba Kenya, who founded two of the cultural institutions, the Children of Adam Band and Living Heritage Project. And we want to be mindful of the fact that there are many institutions that make up the rich Muslim Philadelphia history. Those include, many that we weren't able to cover in this month, but we are hoping to continue these series throughout the year, and we'll hope to host many more of our leading names who have put their lives and their work in the service of our communities. We want to welcome everyone who's joining us here on Zoom and on Facebook. As always, we are going to keep this conversation live, and especially today, we are going to be having also a few videos to play for you all from the work of Baba Kenya and his colleagues. So without further ado, I want to welcome Baba Kenya, as we call him, Ahmed Kenya. We are going to hear about his name as well. So Baba Kenya, thank you so much for joining us, for giving your time to this program. We want to get started with a question that we always start these programs with, which is, we'll ask you to talk a little bit about yourself, your personal history, your personal story. I know that you have a very interesting background professionally and otherwise, and in the city as well. We would be very happy if we can start to learn about your personal story, and then we'll explore where that personal story intersects with the lives of these two projects, these two institutions that we are highlighting today.
So uh, I'll start by saying that in some ways I can be considered an immigrant. And when I say immigrant, I mean that I was not born and raised in Philadelphia. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I came to Philadelphia to go to college, specifically Philadelphia College of Art. That was in the early 70s, long before Sinai was even born. So that's where I began my journey here in Philadelphia, 1971, and I was fortunate enough to have a African history studies teacher named Benjamin F. Scott, who made a tremendous impact on me back then. Coming up in Washington, D.C. during the 50s and 60s, one thing you noticed very obviously as a person of color, as an African American, is the fact that image-wise, there was very little available to portray African Americans. And when I say that, what I mean is this: the only photographic images that you ever saw of African Americans was when you went to the barber shop to get a haircut, because the barber would have Jet magazines, which were published by Johnson and Johnson Publishing Company. They're like a half-size magazine. Uh, all of the photographs were black and white, and the cover was color. And if you were lucky, you got a chance to see Ebony magazine. Ebony magazine, which was also published by Johnson and Johnson, had both color and black and white photos of African Americans involved in various aspects of life. But the striking thing that I noticed as a child with this dearth of imagery of African Americans is the fact that there was virtually nothing that showed children, or there was nothing that was in children's books at that time that portrayed African Americans. So I had a desire, because I was an artist, to increase the, or at least give my contribution to that imagery by creating and designing and writing things about African Americans that children would be interested in and appreciate. It showed them themselves. So when I came to Philadelphia College of Art in '71, I had a mission already. My mission was to author, write children's books, and illustrate them. And I started doing that. So one of my first publications was a book for children called the Occupations Workbook. And I'm jumping ahead slightly because it would be the summer of 1973 when, during a period in which I would return back to Washington during the summer break from college to earn some extra money to come back to school with, that I took a Arabic language course at the Islamic Center of Washington, D.C. And we also, as a result of that, began to read and study the Quran. And August of that year, I embraced Islam formally at the Washington, D.C. Islamic Center. So that's the gateway or the door that I came into Islam by. And with regards to my instructor, Dr. Benjamin Scott, that I mentioned before, he inspired me to write my first historical treatise on Islam, which was called The Islamic History of Early West Africa. And this is where I learned about all the different characters that we wound up presenting in the Living History Heritage Project. The first time I ever heard of or studied about Omar Ibn Saeed was in the early 70s. Same thing for Muhammad Ali Ibn Saeed, the same thing for Yiro Mahmoud and Bilali Muhammad and so many others. And I produced a 1 hour, no, I'm sorry, it was a 2-hour production. You know, because back then we didn't have DVDs, we didn't have the kind of high-tech video cameras and imagery that we have today. So I decided to illustrate a series of drawings, a full color artwork to portray a history of early Islam in early West Africa. And we did a professional narrated background audio that was to accompany it with live soundtrack, special effects. You could close your eyes and you would be there amidst all of the activities. This series was broken down into 4 segments, each 30 minutes long, and we wound up playing it on the radio. It was produced at WRTI FM, 90.1 FM radio. Back then, Imam Nadim Suleiman Ali, who is currently with the a cappella singing group called Dar es Salaam, was an engineer there. He, along with others like Nasir Azim Abdullah and the Western Islamic Broadcasting Network, they helped us to record, and we put this on the air at Drexel University, and we put it on the air at WRTI. The first time we played it, the phone lines across the board lit up.
What was the
And
year, Baba Kenya?
this was about 75, I believe, maybe 1975. So the phone lines on the call-in board just lit up, and people were making requests for us to play it again. So we wound up playing that series 4 times on the radio, on the air, during the first year that we created it. So, from there on, I had the opportunity to again, write and illustrate various children's books, and a series of other educational aids. We had Islamic coloring poster series. They were like 18 by 24 inches, and they had various subject matter that children would appreciate. And we did very well by producing these kinds of educational aids. I even created something called the ABC of Islam kit, which was if you can imagine this in the 70s, it was a professionally boxed item that contained Arabic flashcards in it, a poster, and the book, the ABCs of Islam, which I wrote and illustrated also. For each letter of the alphabet, there was a word that had some particular connotation to Islam, like Aleph being the first alphabet. Aleph was for Adhan, and then we would have an explanation of what the Adhan was, along with some illustrations, for the sake of educating the children. Ba is for Bilal. We'd have the story about Bilal, and so on and so on and so on. So these were the kinds of things that I was involved with in the early stages of my involvement and development as a Muslim. And since then, I've written so many things, published so many things, and moved up with the various levels of expertise that current day technology has to offer us, and eventually wound up doing the theater productions, then getting into multimedia, and then moving into the area of music, which probably unbeknownst to a number of people, I've been involved with music ever since junior high school. And when I was living in Washington, D.C., prior to coming to Philadelphia to attend college, I was a member of one of the upcoming bands of the Washington, D.C. area called 100 Years Time. And I wrote one song that we recorded in New York with Mercer Ellington, the son of Duke Ellington. He had a studio in New York. He invited us up, and we recorded my song along with some other material. So that's I guess where my background origins began.
Just, I'll pass to Sanai, but just to follow on 2 things. One is, I assume through this period in mid to late 70s, you decided to stay in Philadelphia. Let us know a little bit about, that process of settling in Philadelphia. Did you become a member of one of the local institutions? What was Philadelphia like at that time, and what was Muslim life like at the time? And of course, before we move on, we want to hear about, the Baba Kenya name and how this came along.
Well, it's interesting, when you study a faith or a life system and its various cultures, you start to pick and choose what parts of culture you want to reflect. So I went the route, naturally of going by the different dress codes that I observed others wearing, because it indicated some sort of collective um, belonging to or collective adherence to that particular group. And it's amazing, it's funny how I used to work at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration as a teenager. I was working in the graphics department. And so I was able to be exposed to all of the various illustrations and artwork that the artists would create there, promoting the idea of the space shuttle and trips to the moon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I was able to learn some techniques and other things from a variety of different artists who were there. So I worked there for a number of years during the summer months, and I sort of grew up in that type of environment. Now, this was prior to Islam and into the period in which I had embraced Islam. So when I embraced Islam, my clothing, my attire changed. And I was very particular about my image, very neat. I didn't want the hems of my jalabia to get caught in the elevator doors when they opened up, or, caught on the escalator. And I carried a briefcase with me that contained my art supplies. And what was so funny to me is the fact that white American officials, suit and tie government officials, who saw me every day that I reported to work prior to Islam and never so much as said a word to me or spoke to me, when they saw me dressed this way with the briefcase, they thought I was a diplomat from another country. They would hold the doors open for me and say good morning and greet me and ask me what country I was from, et cetera, and all due earnestness. And to me, it was hilarious because, the clothing, in essence, made the man, made the stature of the human being to them. And they gave me that deference as a result of that. And that was a pretty interesting experience, coming out of the 60s into the 70s, because in the 60s, when I was in high school, I was in the second wave of students, African-American students that went to a particular high school to start the process of desegregation. And I'm talking about Woodrow Wilson High School in Northwest Washington, D.C. So there was one group that came the year prior to me, and then I came in, and it was during my year that, unfortunately, Martin Luther King was martyred. He was assassinated, and that happened on a weekend. The bus ride from my home to Woodrow Wilson High School was about a 2-hour bus ride. I got to school, and it's a predominantly white school. Somewhere around 10 o'clock, they came over the PA system and made an announcement that the school was going to let out early because of the threat of violence. Rumors were spreading that there were large groups of Black students who were on their way across town to attack the predominantly white schools. So as a result of that, we were released early, and I rode the DC Metropolitan bus system all the way across town back to my home in Southeast Washington, DC. And I was able to observe firsthand the unfolding of the DC riots, starting with noticing the attacks on whites who were citizens, walking the streets in Georgetown by Blacks, the bus going through the downtown area of Washington, D.C., and onto H Street, which was the Black commercial corridor back then. And the looting had started. They had started breaking into the stores and running out with merchandise and other things and setting things on fire. And finally, I got over to the area of the border between Northeast and Southeast, which was near Spingarn High School, which would be the school I was supposed to have attended, an all Black school. And it's there that I saw the military helicopters landing on the golf course and on the parking lot for the DC stadium, and the National Guard was mobilizing there. So I saw the troop movement, and I'm almost home, and I'm wondering to myself, is this phenomena going to spread all the way up to the neighborhoods where I live? And fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it came to an end about 5 blocks from where I lived in a residential neighborhood. There was a Safeway store, I remember, that was a couple of blocks from the projects that they looted and burned. They looted and burned the People's Drugstore back then, which was right on the same lot. And they also looted the 7-Eleven store, which was about 2 blocks from where I live. But that's as close as the violence and the looting came to where I live. So it was quite an experience. And needless to say, when the rioting was quelled and calm was restored to the city again, I transferred out of the school that I had attempted to be a part of the desegregation of, and went to attend the local neighborhood high school, which was Spingarn High School. So that's the part of the kind of impact that part of my life had on me with regards to race relations. There are other issues, but we don't have time enough to bring all that to the fore right now, because I've lived a very fortunate life and been able to experience quite a number of things.
Let's just remind our audience that the day that Baba Kenya is mentioning is April 4, 1968, the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. Yeah.
Wow, alhamdulillah. Yeah, so our next question is switching a little bit of the gears, and more so just looking at Philadelphia and its unique place in Muslim history, African American Muslim history, and all of that. How does what you've done in music and arts specifically played a role in allowing Philadelphia to make that name for itself that we know it has?
Well, I have tried to do my utmost to express cultural arts whenever and wherever possible. And the inclusion, and I put the stress on that word, inclusion, of the Islamic value systems and appreciation into that, because unfortunately, when some people adopt, if I may use that word, a faith or a ideology, they become closed-minded, and they begin to look at themselves as being the only true answer or the only true representation of an ideology or faith. And we don't have to get into details about those kinds of people with narrow minds and narrow perceptions of life. So every opportunity that I have had to do cultural programming, regardless of the genre, whether it's calligraphy, if you recall, we did the Islamic Heritage Month programming here in Philadelphia, um, uh, 2015 and 2016. I tried to make it, or we tried to make it, the most unforgettable cultural spectacle that could be presented here by having 5 weekends during the month of October, excuse me, having 5 weekends during the month of October that featured and showcased the best of Islamic culture with an open door format. You know, there was no admission charge. It was free. We had all sorts of uh, performers, authors, uh, museum exhibits, uh, dance, music, film, every genre available. You name it, and we had it for 2 years here in the Philadelphia area at Masjid Allah. That kind of activity could not have happened anywhere else within the United States because of the conditions and circumstances of different communities. Philadelphia offered opportunity, and that's very critical because it's opportunity that allows you to be able to accomplish things. If you have no opportunity, then you're stuck. And when you're stuck like that, you're stymied, and you can, lose your sense of direction, or just give in and become like those that think that certain behavior and attitudes or disinclusion is supposed to be the accepted norm for Islam, and that's not the case. Islam has a very glorious past, a very glorious history of supporting and helping to spread cultural ideology and exchange. And as a result of that, the arts have always flourished. There are so many things that have existed in the world, even during the past 10 years, and in other countries that Muslims in America had no idea that they existed. So I hope I've answered your question.
Wonderful, Baba Kenya. I think this may be a good moment perhaps for us to share one of the videos that you produced under the Living History Heritage Project, to give some of our audience who may not be as familiar as others, because we at the CAIR-Philadelphia banquets always benefited from expressions of this history with you and your colleagues. So let me bring up one of these videos that Baba Kenya and his team under Living History Heritage Project has produced. This video is called, I think, The Last Africans pitch. If I can get sort of thumbs up or a quick notes and eye from you if the audio is coming properly, I'll appreciate that. Let's see if this is okay. I believe this is not what we want to bring up. This is coming in just a little bit. Give me 1 second, and hopefully we should be so. No Zoom call is full without some sort of technical hiccup. Let's see.
Islam was in America before independence. Before the American Revolutionary War, Islam arrived in the United States in the hearts.
Do we have the audio? Is it coming through?
Yes, we have the audio.
Minds and the souls of African Muslim men, women, and children who were sold into the transatlantic slave trade. Men like Cherno, who wrote the opening chapter of the Quran, Ayuba ibn Suleiman Jallo, who wrote 2 copies of the Quran from memory, and Yiro Mahmoud, who performed his 5 daily prayers on public streets in Georgetown. These men were just the start of the legacy Islam would leave upon America. The Last Africans documentary film features the story of Omar Ibn Saeed, a Fulani Muslim teacher and scholar from Futa Toro who had made pilgrimage to Mecca before he was sold into the transatlantic slave trade.
I remember it well. It was the year 1807.
He is the only documented African to write his own autobiography in the Arabic language while still enslaved in America.
My name is Muhammad Ali Ibn Saeed. Inkume, Miku, Kuka.
Another historical character featured is Muhammad Ali ibn Saeed, captured by Kindle Tuareg slavers as a teenager in Canaan, Bornu, near Lake Chad. He is sold into the slavery of the Middle East and Europe, and Muhammad learns 12 different languages and eventually becomes free in Russia.
Men of color, to arms, to arms, now or never.
He comes to America as a free man. He becomes one of 292 documented African Muslims who would fight in the American Civil War.
Hibda the law says I'm free, damn it!
Coincidentally, it would be the famous abolitionist Sojourner Truth who would announce on July 4th of 1863 that her grandson, James Caldwell, would enlist in the 54th Massachusetts Regiment of the United States Colored Troops.
You want freedom? I'll give you freedom.
And I grabbed him, and I beat him, and I beat him for my mama, I beat him for my papa, I beat him for my sister, and I beat him for my brother.
Bilali Muhammad from Futa Jalon was captured as a teenager and sold into the Middle Passage of the transatlantic slave trade. He was born in the same year as Omar Ibn Saeed at opposite ends of the Senegal River, and they would both become enslaved in two states with common borders, South Carolina and Georgia.
It was the War 1812. I was 42 years old and headmaster on a plantation of 500 African saltwater slaves. The English had set up a blockade of ships all along the east coast of America, even where we was, Sapelo Island, Georgia. I tells Master Cham, I got 80 African Muslims, and we ready to defend and fight and die for our homes here on this plantation. Master Cham goes and gets us 80 French muskets. When the English hear about us Africans with muskets on Sapelo Island, they just keep on sailing right on by. When the war was over, Master Tom came back and got his muskets.
These are some of the many forgotten roots and lost legacies that deserve to be told. The Last Africans, the life and times of Omar Ibn Saeed.
Yes, so this clip hopefully gives a real sort of glimpse of some of the work that Baba Kenya and his colleagues have put together, and especially in this month, we are remembering and recognizing the enslaved Muslims that were brought against their will to both North America and South America, and of course these projects bring them to life. And I think notably we should note that even though there is now much more work and recognition of these figures and these individuals whose work is now being studied by academics and others, I think by the time that you all started to put this together, there wasn't as much attention paid to the enslaved Muslims who have been in the States since the early periods, were sold into the transatlantic slave trade. So I think we should recognize it. Okay.
Yes, I'd like to mention that there are over 350,000 museums in the United States, and there are only 2 that give any recognition or reference to the antebellum African and African American Muslim experience in this country. That film you just saw was part of an award-winning project that we did that aired on Philadelphia Cultural Forum, CCP TV 53. That won a 2019 Communicators Achievement Award for that particular clip. The other one, which I hope you'll get a chance to show also, won a 2017 Bronze Telly Award, also with Philadelphia Cultural Forum. If you are aware of the Emmys, the Emmy Awards, the Telly Award is the next level down below the Emmys. So we won a bronze level award for that particular production.
Wow, alhamdulillah.
Yes, and why don't we go to maybe the next question, and then I can bring up the next video, inshallah.
Yeah, sure, alhamdulillah. Well, that was a really, really well-made video. And for the next question, it kind of ties into the conversation of race and religion, and more specifically, what you yourself and the initiatives that you may or have worked with, if any, have there been any that have been centered around the correlation between race and religion, and more specifically, being African American and being Muslim?
Well, I have to. I like to choose my words carefully so that we avoid misunderstanding, because there's an old saying that once something comes out of the mouth, it's very difficult to take it back and put it back in the mouth. So interestingly enough, in America, you have, at least among African Americans, you have certain behaviors that occur as a result of a family member becoming a Muslim and changing their name and changing certain aspects of their habits. They don't imbibe in alcohol or intoxicants. They don't gamble. The clothing attire is a lot more modest depending on what it is, but it's a little different. The wearing of various headgear, or having to educate family members that your name is now something else other than what it was before, what they knew you as before. And the conversations and the curiosities that occur as a result of that. Family members and associates and neighbors wanting to know, what does all this mean? Why did you do this? Are you a foreigner now? Are you a terrorist now? The list of questions go on and on. And for the most part, I would say that the majority of all of my interactions with people regarding my faith, regarding my belief system, and my practices have always pretty much gone over well. Why? Because they look at the works first. They see all the good that you're doing. And the good that we're doing is not targeting a specific audience. It's not targeting just young people. Regardless of the age group or the ethnic background or the racial origins or whatever, people's hearts and their minds and their souls are touched by what they see and what they hear, especially if you're able to articulate on ideologies and concepts from their own faith-based origins. Some people, maybe some Muslims for that matter, I'm not for sure, think that you shouldn't refer to the Bible, the Evangelion or the Injil, when you discuss issues of faith with Christians. And it's wrong, because there are numerous ideals that are in the Bible, both in the Old Testament, the Tanakh, Torah, the Nebi'im, Khutubihim, that are directly in line with Islam. And it's almost like in some instances you're reading the Quran when you see some of these things, and then vice versa. There are people of other faiths who are so touched that they say, I've never I've never heard things spoken of or thought of in that particular way or fashion, and it makes them think. It makes them pause for that moment and reflect. And that's what the Quran is designed to do. It's designed, the recitation of it reach the human being, touch them, and cause them to pause and reflect. And once you begin to reflect upon the realities of what it's saying, and you find that alignment with your past upbringing, your past religious experiences or personal experiences, you begin to change and improve yourself as a human being. So I hope that those selected series of words are the appropriate answer for your for your question, and that I haven't offended anyone.
No, alhamdulillah. No, that was a wonderful answer. Shukran, brother.
Whenever I'm approached by someone who may not be a Muslim, and they ask me a question, the first thing I ask them is, are you asking the question for the sake of argument, which gives you the opportunity to express your views and ideas only? Or are you asking the question for the sake of meaningful dialogue? Are you open to exchange and learning and taking away something from this encounter? And if they say that they just want to argue, then I'd say, hey, wassalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. I have better things to do.
Wonderful. That's good advice for all of us, especially in this time of social media and commentary as well. So why don't we go to our next video, see a little bit more from the Living History Heritage Project's work, and then maybe we can steer the conversation towards a bit more on music and on the Children of Adam band. What led to its creation, and what are some of your programs, but before then, some more crucial history for all of us, inshallah. So hopefully this is going to play properly.
Most African American and African history related educational materials only focus on the homogeneous, sanitized characters or personages that we're all pretty much familiar with. The Harriet Tubmans, the Sojourner Truths, the Frederick Douglasses.
Do you speak my language?
We provide information about actual historical characters who came from Africa, some of them enslaved, some not enslaved. Case in point, Omar Ibn Saeed, who was brought here in 1807, was a Fulani scholar and teacher who had made pilgrimage to Mecca.
I was among the last group of Africans brought into America from the transatlantic slave trade.
He is the only documented slave in American history that wrote his own autobiography while he was still enslaved, and therefore his document is American literature.
We sailed the mighty sea for 1 month and a half until we came to that place they call Charlestown.
The Living History Heritage Project is dramatic living history from the mouths of Africans and Africans enslaved in America from their own autobiographies.
of the original 164 African men, women, and children who were held captive in the belly of the slave ship Elijah, only 140 survived. 24 of them had died.
Most people do not realize that there are written or documented records. These are their writings, their experiences, circumstances that they survived and existed under and eventually overcame.
I would see the posters that read, "Men of color, to arms, now or never."
The person I portray is Muhammad Ali Ibn Saeed, the son of a general. He was captured and sold throughout Africa and Europe. By the time he made it to the Americas, he was already a free man. And eventually he decided to join the Union Army to fight in the Civil War.
I would hear all of these stories of the colored people as they told me about the abusive treatments from their masters. And me realizing and knowing that I had once also been a slave.
We're doing our small part, seeing to it that people of all ages, all ethnicities, learn the truth.
In 1752, my sister Amanda and I were captured and taken away from our homeland.
Truth is important to establish the authenticity of heritage for people who have for so long been unaware or ignorant of their own heritage. These are the unsung heroes, scholars, teachers, literate people. This is not your father's Black history. This is your father's 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 Black history.
Okay, yes, another powerful clip from the work of the project. And again, but can I just, you mentioned, some of the prizes and some of the others, but to just provide a more sort of concrete idea of how folks could, our audience members or people who will watch this video later on our website, which will be available at pa.cair.com/Philly Muslim History. And on our Facebook and YouTube pages, how can they, think of, concrete ways to incorporate maybe some of these into their work? Give some quick ideas, and then let's talk a bit on the Children of Adam Band.
Well, with all of our dramatic productions, we produce supplemental educational material. We produce lesson plans, multiple choice quizzes. These items are used in conjunction with the actual performance to further embed the ideas and concepts and experiences of these characters and the lessons learned into the audiences, the youth or even adults for that matter who've experienced this. We refer to it as taking them on the journey. And we have, in the case of Omar Ibn Saeed, I believe I'm just doing this from memory, I think there's at least a 74-page full color lesson plan that accompanies that. With Muhammad Ali Ibn Saeed, who fought in the United States Civil War, there's at least a 54-page lesson plan with his particular story. And it continues on with the other characters as well. So this is how we try to enrich the experience of our audiences. We include, I think we have 4 traveling museum exhibits that we bring out also, because we have authentic artifacts, like this handwritten Mus'haf of Quran that we have, part of our Timbuktu exhibit. This Quran was written in 1759, which is about 4 years prior to Thomas Jefferson's Quran. We brought that out to a number of events and activities because we want people to see these items and be aware of them. We also have another manuscript that is over 1,000 years old. It when you look at the story of Bilal and Muhammad in Sapelo Island, Georgia, Bilal wrote from memory because he was captured as a child at the age of 12 or 13 years of age. He memorized a particular book or treatise that has always been used in West Africa to teach children. The name of the book is Al-Risala, and it was written by a man named Zayd al-Qarawani, an Imam Zayd al-Qarawani from Kairouan, Tunisia. His students would come to Kairouan to study under him, and they would write down the details of the lectures and the lessons, and then they would take it back across the Sahara to whatever places they came from. Well, this particular copy that we obtained came from the city of Gao, which is close to Timbuktu, but we don't have time here to go into the history of the city state of Gao. But nevertheless, I had given it to the Ajami and Arabic language specialist, Dr. Falu Ngum in Massachusetts, who in turn gave it to his to one of his subordinates, who actually took this manuscript back to Africa with him to the various ulama or scholars there, and they all examined it and they said that this is authentic, it's real. The paper is so brittle, it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And it's written in the Maghrebi script, the handwriting style that has been used throughout North and West Africa since. So these are the kinds of things that we bring out for people to see, so they are much more impressed with the reality of it all, that we're not trying to fabricate or create things to try to impress them. These are the realities that we try to bring forth for them to see.
Wonderful, thank you, Baba Kenya. There's a question on Facebook. Our board member, Sirgada Vistanji, asks if there's a full documentary that can be accessed.
You mean the full movie?
Yeah.
I think the only thing that is available in the full version formats would be the two programs that we did on Philadelphia Cultural Forum. The one for the Living History Heritage Project, and the other one, I think it's called Freedom. And so you can see much more of that there in these two particular productions. And they are on a YouTube. Philadelphia Cultural Forum does have a YouTube channel.
Wonderful. No, thank you for that, Baba Kenya. Maybe we can take the link from you and I share later on, with Sugata and others. Great. So let's talk a little bit about, your now the other aspect, which is again, very lively, which is the Children of Adam Band. How did it come into being? What was the idea behind it? Tell us a little bit about the Children of Adam Band, and let's also play a music clip from that, so that our audience can get a taste of that as well.
Well, for those of you who are unaware, the Children of Adam Band is a 14-member world music band. The Children of Adam Band is the 2019 top world music band from Philadelphia Live Center Stage. We won the top award for #1 world music band in Philadelphia during this competition, which is is sort of like a Philadelphia version of the Grammys that was organized and produced by Philadelphia Councilman David O. So I want to give you the names of the current band members so you'll get an idea as to who they are, because you know, projects like these are not capable without the investment of time, the investment of energy, and the creativity of other people. We have on lead guitar, Muhammad Ali Kemp, myself on flugelhorn, vocals, kren, kalimba, percussions. We have Bob Kunga on vocals, kungas, percussions. We have Bruce Abrams on guitar, Daniel Theodore Harris on vocals and keyboards, Donald Williams on sax, Jackie Lee on vocals and percussions, Johnny Walker on trumpet and percussions, Jabril Abdul Jalil on vocals and kungas, Leon Schley on digital drums, Sandees Davis on djembe, African percussions, Stan Finning on vocals and percussions, Sultana Arifa on vocals, and also she is our Tanura dancer, Tyrone Richards on bass guitar, and we just added in another dancer, Tafari Nobles L, who is our mass dancer for our new production that we're working on now currently. It's 15 plus all original songs, and the project is called Timbuktu, The Human Journey. So these are the people that help to bring all of the various elements of their creative skills and abilities and experiences into this band, this Children of Adam band, and make it what it is. And you know, how they came through our door, you can only say it's Allah, because you know, it seems like they were each made specifically for the job, for what we have to do. And our mission is to produce PMB music, positive message bearing music. That's our theme. That's our self-created genre of music. And the concept of PMB music has basically 7 principles. 1 is no abusive language. 2 is no bigotry. 3 is no bullying. 4 is no drugs. 5 is no guns. 6 is no misogyny. And 7 is no racism. And those are the 7 principles of positive message bearing music. We extend invitations to anyone, young, old, male, female, whatever, who writes or produces their own music that fits this particular category, to join our Facebook group. It's called I Love Positive Message Bearing Music. And love is spelled L-U-V. So that's the strange spelling of the title of the group that you look for. So it's I Love Positive Message Bearing Music. And we've got quite a number of different other musicians who are featured on that particular group, and we support them wholeheartedly. And it gives people an opportunity to reach audiences that perhaps they would have never reached before. So it's all about sharing and assisting one another. So the other part of your question was?
I believe you addressed it, Baba Kenya.
How did the band come together?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you did address that, you know, very well. What I want to do is just play a few minutes. And I know Sanai wants to ask you about, you know, what are some maybe new programs you all are doing, and how folks can support, and then we can end at that point. But we are going to play the first part of this wonderful piece that was recorded actually down in Virginia at George Mason University. This was right before COVID fully struck, and everything was shut down. It was February 14, 2020, and it was a wonderful concert. And hopefully you all will enjoy this piece by the Children of Adam Band.
Save me. Save me from the darkness. Save me. Save me. Vamos, combo, uno. Vamos, There's no time left to lose. Oh, those you cherish and bring them close to you. Closer and closer with every beat of my heart and every breath I take. Each step brings me closer.
All right, we'll come back to the rest of the piece, and we'll finish it. But before that, I'll pass over to Sanai.
Yeah, so like Brother Ahmed mentioned a little bit earlier, I wanted to talk a little bit about what we can do now for our viewers and for people who are learning about both, the Children of Adam Band and the Living History Project and all the things you've been doing over the years. What are some programs coming up or some things you guys are doing? And I know that COVID obviously has made everything difficult for everyone. So if anything, I guess, how or what can we look forward to or look out for sometime in the near future? And then follow up to that would be how our audience and ourselves can all support the work you're doing so that you can continue to do it, inshallah.
Well, I'd like to start by saying that for those of us who are Muslim and who read the Quran, we recognize that there is a chapter in the Quran called Ar-Rahman, which means in the English language, the merciful. And there is a verse that is repeated numerous times throughout that particular chapter that asks the question, which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? So taking that into consideration and looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, we, as Ahmed had mentioned before, had just done that concert in Virginia, February. And around March the 11th, Mayor Jim Kenney of Philadelphia shut the city down. That was the first part of our lockdown. So the band had plans because we had a tour lined up. We had, our sites on various engagements throughout the United States. And unfortunately, we were unable to do those. But we had another aspect of our workload that involved producing our second CD. The first CD was called Bilal, which had only 8 songs on there. The second CD is called Timbuktu, The Human Journey, and that has 15 plus songs on it, all originals. So we found that we were unable to get together and rehearse. Why? Because number one, the studio we were rehearsing in was too small to accommodate the social distancing requiring. And number two, we wanted everyone to feel comfortable with their practice of social distancing to avoid any type of spread of contagion. The additional factor is that we needed to be able to hear and see ourselves in real time. And we checked out the various platforms that were available, and even Zoom itself has a lag time in it. It's not really real time broadcast and transmission. So we figured out a strategy to deal with this. And our strategy was that we would have outdoor rehearsals. We'd have outdoor rehearsals with everyone 20 feet apart. Back then, the requirement was only 6 feet, but I had everyone spaced 20 feet apart. We had disposable microphone covers for all the mics. All of the microphones were individually assigned to certain personnel, meaning They were the only ones that exclusively used those. We had all the PPE you could imagine. Everyone had to arrive and wearing face masks and gloves before they got out of their cars. I would take their temperature with a no contact temperature gun. And it's that way that we were able to proceed on with rehearsals and learning our new music for the Timbuktu project. And we were able to record it outdoors as well. Fortunately for us, alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah, He blessed us with a location that was a partial underground garage. So we could be in the garage outdoors with fresh air flowing, and it could be raining outside and we weren't getting wet. And as far as our musical equipment was concerned, we didn't have access to electricity, so we used batteries. And it's that way that we were able to rehearse from July all the way through October and learn and share these new songs that we're working on. So I say that to say that where there is a will, there is a way. A lot of the presenters that we had lined up for 2020 wanted us again for 2021. But you can see how the year has progressed so far. We're into past mid-February going into March, and the pandemic has not abated enough for us to be able to do certain things safely with regards to herd immunity. So I say that to say that we're still strategizing. We're still working on various projects. We submitted an application to the 2020 global event, which is this time around is being held in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. They retained the name 2020 because they were supposed to have it in 2020, but because of the virus, they couldn't do that. So in order to avoid confusion, they're still retaining this title Global 2020. And the United States is selecting cultural and performance arts groups to send to participate in this event. So we haven't heard any word on selection processes yet, but we're optimistic just the same. This is just to give you an idea of what we have planned for the future. There are other major festivals that are using our videos to show because they're having these virtual types of festivals versus actually having festivals where you have actual live audiences and the performers on scene. And that's another venue. We were nominated for Lifetime Achievement Award for the Golden Minarets. It's part of the Achievement of Muslim Cultures project, sponsored and produced by Brother Talib Kareem in the Washington, D.C. area. This is like the Muslim version of the Oscars. It's a wonderful event. I've attended 2 of them in the past. Very, very impressive. The accolades, the people who are involved in the program, the attendees, it's exceptionally wonderful. And I'm hoping and I'm optimistic that, we will, inshallah, win this particular award. And there are others with other projects that we're involved with that we're trying to make sure that we're able to follow through with. But again, all of this, of course, is whether or not Allah will grant us the opportunity and the ability to be able to accomplish these things. And so far, the Children of Adam Band has had a life of its own. We have done all that we can to promote it, even converting one of our videos into satellite digital broadcast quality so that it can be streamed anywhere in the world. So these are some of the things that we're doing. And who knows, we may win a few more awards. Images of the Motherland, the parent company, has been around for 22 years now. And we've won numerous awards in the drama department of our productions. And we're winning awards now in the music department of our projects as well. So we're hoping, we're optimistic. We've got our plans laid out for the coming year, and we'll see what from among those plans Allah will allow to actually come into fruition and become a reality that we can continue to share with others and to share with the world. You know, our byline in our logo, Children of Adam Band, reads, "Celebrating the musical diversity of humanity." And that's what we try to do. When you look at our Timbuktu CD as an example, 9 of the 15 songs that we have so far all contain dialect. They have English language and other foreign languages as well in the lyrics. Our appeal and our approach is global. We try to speak the languages of the world. And, you know, it's not like a song will be like you heard in the song you played, Come Together. The opening was in Spanish, but as it was going out, it went into Arabic and Hebrew. You know, we have another song that has Yoruba language content, and it switches into Sicilian and Italian. So we do this admixture along with the English language to try to convey the ideas and the concepts of our music. And it's how you have to view the world today. You have to view the world as a global citizen. You can no longer just be resigned to being able to speak and understand only one language. You have to utilize that aptitude that Allah gave us. You know, those historical characters in our productions, Living History Heritage Project. Omar Ibn Saeed had to speak at least 4 or 5 different languages. He had to speak his own language, Pular. He had to speak Wolof for the people he lived among. He had to speak Arabic and Bambara also. You know, Muhammad Ali Ibn Saeed, the one that fought in the Civil War, he learned 12 different languages. So this is not uncommon to the rest of the world, where people are able to converse and communicate in multiple languages. And that's what's necessary. We have to embrace each other. We have to share. We have to prosper and support one another across cultural boundaries. And we do that by way of the cultural arts, bringing people together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Baba Kenya. I mean, I think, you know, we're hoping that, you know, more and more individuals and audiences will be able to hopefully enjoy the music. We are grateful to you for your time tonight. What we'll do is we are going to play rest of the piece, Come Together, for our audience, and that will be our end. We want to thank everyone who joined us here and on Facebook. If you have questions, you can, of course, you know, put them down so that, you know, we can convey those to Baba Kenya. I'm seeing many comments and notes of appreciation for the work that you do, and we are grateful to be a partner to try to amplify this important cultural work.
If I may, to the audience, your viewing audience, you know, artists need support. Artists cannot progress and excel if they don't have support. And, you know, hundreds of years ago, they used to have benefactors who would, you know, pay for various expenses they had. But we have a product that's available now, and that is the Bilal CD. And we ask you to show your support for us by purchasing the Bilal CD. You don't have to buy the whole thing. You can buy songs, individual songs off of it, and it's available on all major digital music platforms. You know, the second thing you can do is to visit our social media, our website, www.childrenofadamband.com. Go there and peruse through what we have there that's available. And also we have our mother corporation's website, which covers both the music, the Children of Adam Band, and the drama from the Living History Heritage Project. And that website is imagesofthemotherland.com, mystrikingly.com. That's imagesofthemotherland.com, mystrikingly.com. You'll find 20 years worth of photo documentation, video documentation of all the projects that we've been involved with for 20 years, producing heritage, enrichment, educational productions. And last but not least, for the younger people who are coming up, I ask the older people not to discourage them from being creative. If the child has the ability to draw, to sketch, to paint, to dance, to sing, to play a musical instrument, then support them wholeheartedly. Allow them to flourish. Give them the opportunity to flourish in that art. And hopefully they'll pick up the banner where we left off. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of God be upon you all.
I mean, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, man.
And thank you so much, Sanai. Wonderful. Let's continue listening to Come Together by Children of Adam.
On destiny our way. We must come together. Why? Call to you, we call to you. Together, we must come together. We must come together as one. Come to you. Come to you. We come to you. Moving together onward. Come to you. We come to you. Moving together onward. Come to you. We come together onward. Come to you. We come to you.
Wonderful. With that, we are finishing tonight's program. Once again, thank you, Baba Kenya. We encourage everyone to visit childrenofadamband.com to support the work of the band. We put the link here on Zoom and on the Facebook comment section. And the recording of this session will be available at pa.cair.com/Philly Muslim History webpage and on our Facebook page as well. Baba Kenya, thank you so much once again. Sanai, thank you so much once again.
Ahmed, it's a wonderful pleasure to be here. And thank you so much. The Children of Adam Band enjoys any and every opportunity to share with the public.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and have a good evening, everyone.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.